front-page politics, and new this hour, two brand new dueling ads from the Republican National Committee and the Obama camp, seizing upon comments both candidates made in just the past 24 hours. First up, here's the new ad from the Obama campaign.
He says we need more firemen, more policemen, more teachers. Did he not get the message of Wisconsin? The American people did. It's time for us to cut back on government and help the American people.
Well, that ad was in direct response to a new RNC spot. Here's part of that one.
The private sector is doing fine. The private sector is doing fine.
Joining me now for more front-page politics, MSNBC contributor and political editor for thegrio.com, Perry Bacon Jr., and politics staff writer for Roll Call, Shira Toeplitz. Hello to you two. So let's get going. I think we have to have dukes up here, right? I mean, Shira, who wins that exchange, and which ad do you think is more effective?
I think the RNC ad is a little more effective because anytime you can use a candidate's own words against him, it's a pretty strong argument. And Obama himself knew, probably as soon as the words left his mouth at the press conference, that those were not the quite best choice of words, because he called reporters into his office and clarified them just a few hours later.
Well, and that was interesting because they had the president say twice, you know, for that phrase, just to repeat it, to hit it home there. So, Perry, your thoughts on this? Which ad do you think is more effective?
I think both ads are effective. I'm not sure. We'll figure out whether the voters will tell us which one's more effective later on, I think. But we saw sort of a very core disagreement between the candidates on the issues, too. Obama basically in his press conference said we need to hire more teachers, more firefighters, more government workers. And then Romney later on said, no, we don't. It's a big contrast in terms of how the economy is growing if one candidate's saying public sector jobs need to increase and one candidate's saying they don't. There's a big contrast there.
Okay, well, Perry, in the Obama camp ad, you heard the comments that Mitt Romney made on Friday. Let's all take a listen to what Romney said.
His answer for economic vitality, by the way, was, of course, pushing aside the private sector, which he said is doing fine. Instead, he wants to add more to government. He wants another stimulus. He wants to hire more government workers. He says we need more firemen, more policemen, more teachers. Did he not get the message of Wisconsin? The American people did. It's time for us to cut back on government and help the American people.
Okay, Perry, is this a case of there he goes again, Romney misspeaking, saying something that could hurt him with middle-class voters, or do you think he really meant it?
I think he does really mean that he wants the government sector, those kinds of jobs, to be smaller, the smaller number of those jobs to be in America. That said, I think both the president and Romney would like to have those comments back. I don't think it's ever smart to say we want fewer teachers. Most Americans are for more teachers. Teachers are very popular. It's a very popular profession. In the same way, the Obama comment about the economy being, the private sector being fine is something I think he wanted to have back too. So neither one of them made the right statement yesterday in terms of the words themselves, even though those are their general views.
Yeah. So, Shira, this all started during the White House news conference on Friday when the president said, quote, the private sector is doing fine. Later in the day, he said this.
Listen, it is absolutely clear that the economy is not doing fine. There are too many people out of work. The housing market is still weak and too many homes underwater. And that's precisely why I asked Congress to start taking some steps that can make a difference.
So, Shira, how is the White House framing what the president said yesterday, and how unintended were his comments about the private sector?
I would say it probably reaches gaffe level. He probably didn't mean to say the private sector is doing just fine. He probably meant to say what he said the second time in the comments he clarified, that the economy is not doing fine, but there are parts of the economy that are doing better than others. So I think it's a problem for the White House because, as we saw, the RNC pounced pretty quickly on those comments, and they want to paint the president as out of touch and not really understanding the true troubles of Americans in a tough economy right now. And those words used against him would be quite effective in a fall campaign ad to implement that.
I want to ask you, Shira, about your latest article because it's pretty interesting. It's about a focus group with female voters sponsored by Walmart. What'd you learn?
Oh, I learned a lot of interesting things, and it was a unique opportunity because even on the campaign trail, we don't get to talk to voters at length, and this time we really got to hear their thoughts for 90 minutes. And what was very surprising to me was just how undefined Mitt Romney was to these women. And these are the kinds of voters who are undecided, usually won't make their decision about a candidate until the last couple of weeks, and they knew very little about Mitt Romney. They knew he was a businessman, a family man, they knew maybe about his religion, and they knew perhaps a little bit about some of the work he did with companies to, depending who you talk to, build them up or tear them down.
Okay. Hey, Perry, just last night, Attorney General Eric Holder appointed 2 U.S. attorneys to lead the investigations into those unauthorized leaks of classified information from the White House and Congress. What's the latest you're hearing about this?
I think this is a big step. It really tells you, you saw how angry the president appeared yesterday when it was suggested to him that he's leaking information basically to help win the election. He's very frustrated about it yesterday, and you saw a few hours later Holder announcing an investigation about it. This is a big step for them. It tells you that they're taking this very seriously, and you saw Democrats and Republicans complaining about these leaks, so I think it's an issue we're going to continue to hear about here in Washington.
Okay, Perry Bacon Jr. and Shira Toeplitz, thank you so much to you both.